You think you're kind. You think you're helping. But what if your niceness is the most violent thing you've ever done? What if your silence is the cruelest weapon? We worship niceness. Be polite. Don't make waves.
Smile through pain.
Keep peace at all costs. From childhood, you were trained. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That phrase didn't teach kindness. It taught cowardice disguised as virtue. You learned to swallow truth, to soften edges, to apologize for existing too loudly, and you called it being good. But here's what nobody tells you. Niceness and kindness are not the same. Niceness is performance. Kindness is truth. Niceness protects your comfort. Kindness protects their growth. Niceness is the smile you force when someone makes a racist joke at dinner. Kindness is speaking up even when your voice shakes. Niceness is nodding along when your friend makes another terrible decision. Kindness is saying, "I love you too much to watch this." Right now, someone in your life is suffering because you're too nice to be kind. Think about your relationships. Really think. How many times have you watched someone you love make the same destructive choice repeatedly? How many times have you seen them walk toward the cliff and said nothing because you didn't want to upset them? You told yourself you were respecting autonomy, being supportive, staying positive, but that's not what you were doing. You were protecting yourself from their discomfort, from their anger, from the possibility they might not like you anymore if you spoke truth. So you smiled, you nodded, you enabled, and you called it love. Here's brutal reality. Every time you choose niceness over honesty, you make a transaction. You trade their potential growth for your immediate comfort. You sacrifice their future on the altar of your present peace. The cruelest part? You get to feel good about it. You walk away thinking you're supportive, loving, caring. Meanwhile, they're drowning, and your silence is the weight around their ankles. Let's dissect this disease of niceness. Niceness is agreeable. It never challenges, never disrupts. It smooths over conflict like cheap paint over rotting wood. Looks good on surface, but underneath, decay continues. Niceness tells your friend you look great when they're clearly deteriorating. Kindness asks, "Are you okay? I'm worried about you." Niceness says, "Whatever you want to do, I support you when they're about to make a catastrophic mistake." Kindness says, "I love you too much to watch you do this to yourself." Niceness protects the present moment. Kindness protects the future. But kindness is hard. Kindness requires courage. It demands you risk the relationship to save the person. It asks you to be uncomfortable so they can be free. Most people aren't brave enough for that, so they choose niceness, the coward's path. And they dress it up in language of compassion, acceptance, unconditional love. But unconditional love doesn't mean unconditional approval. Real love is willing to be the villain in someone's story if it means they survive to write another chapter. You know who you are. You, watching this, feeling that uncomfortable tightness in your chest. You're the one who says, "I'm fine" when you're falling apart, because you don't want to burden anyone. You laugh at offensive jokes because you don't want to ruin the mood. You stay in relationships that kill you slowly because you don't want to hurt the other person. You're the compassionate liar, the kind coward. You've convinced yourself this is nobility, sacrifice, what good people do. But here's what's really happening. You're teaching everyone around you that your truth doesn't matter, that your feelings can be ignored, that your boundaries are optional. You're training people you love to disrespect you. Then you wonder why they do. Every time you swallow honest reaction to preserve false peace, you build a relationship on quicksand. You create connection that looks stable but has no foundation. One day it will collapse, because you can only pretend for so long. You can only smile through the pain for so many years before the mask cracks. And when it does, when you finally snap, when you finally speak your truth after years of silence, they'll call you crazy. They'll say you changed. They'll wonder where this came from. But you'll know. You'll know it didn't come from nowhere. Now let's talk about the people you're protecting with your niceness. Your friend in a toxic relationship. You see it. Everyone sees it. But you say nothing because it's not your place and they need to figure it out themselves, so you watch. You enable. You provide a shoulder to cry on after every fight, then send them back into the ring. You think you're being supportive. You're not. You're being an accomplice. Your family member destroying themselves with addiction, overwork, toxic patterns. You notice. You worry in private, but you stay silent in public because you don't want to make them defensive or it's their life. Here's truth you don't want to hear. Your silence is permission. Your niceness is approval. When you see someone you love harming themselves and say nothing, You become part of the harm. You become complicit in their destruction. But what if they get angry?
What if they stop talking to me?
What if they hate me? Then they get angry. Then they stop talking. Then they hate you. And maybe, just maybe, that's the wake-up call they need. Maybe your willingness to risk the relationship is the first honest thing they've experienced in years, but you'll never know. Because you're too busy being nice. The cruelest thing you can do to someone is watch them drown and compliment their swimming technique. Let's examine what you're really afraid of. Because this isn't about being nice. This is about fear. You're afraid of conflict, terrified of being disliked, petrified of standing alone, so you smooth things over. Keep peace, maintain harmony at any cost. But what is that harmony worth if built on unspoken resentments? What is that peace worth if it requires everyone to lie? You've created a world where nobody says what they mean, where every interaction is performance, where authenticity is the price you pay for belonging, and you call this community, you call this family, you call this friendship, but it's not real. None of it is real. Real relationships can handle truth. Real love can survive disagreement. Real connection is forged in fire of honest confrontation, not in shallow waters of perpetual agreeability. When you choose niceness over truth, you choose fantasy over reality. You choose to know someone's representative instead of knowing them. You can be surrounded by people and completely alone. 1,000 surface-level friendships and not one genuine connection. You can be universally liked and deeply unknown. Here's what compassion actually looks like. And I warn you, it's not pretty. Compassion is the mother who refuses to enable her adult child's self-destruction, even when it breaks her heart, even when they hate her for it. Compassion is the friend who says, I love you, but I can't watch you do this to yourself anymore, and then follows through with boundaries. Compassion is the partner who initiates difficult conversation instead of letting resentment metastasize into contempt. Real compassion is surgical. It cuts away diseased tissue to save the organism. It causes pain in service of healing. Niceness is a band-aid on a bullet wound. Makes you feel like you're helping while the person bleeds out. The question, do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be useful? Do you want people to like you or do you want to actually help them? Because you can't have both. Not always. Sometimes love demands you become the bad guy in someone's story. Your niceness serves you. Your kindness serves them. Learn the difference. And understand that when you finally choose truth over comfort, not everyone will thank you. Some people are so invested in their own destruction that your honesty feels like an attack. They'll call you judgmental, harsh, unsupportive. They'll say you've changed, that you're not the person they knew. Good. You shouldn't be. That person was complicit in their suffering. So what now? How do you unlearn a lifetime of trained niceness? It starts with getting comfortable with discomfort, understanding that tension isn't always bad, that conflict can be productive, that being liked is not the same as being respected. It means learning to say, I disagree without following with, but that's just my opinion, or but you do you. It means understanding that boundaries without consequences are just suggestions, that no is a complete sentence. It means accepting that some people will fall away when you start being honest. And that's not failure, that's filtering. That's the relationship revealing what it actually was all along. Real relationships survive truth. Fragile connections built on performance and pretense do not. And yes, this is terrifying. What if you're honest and they leave? What if you speak truth and end up alone? Then you end up alone. But at least you'll be alone as yourself. At least you'll be lonely instead of disconnected. There's a difference between solitude and isolation. Solitude is being alone with yourself. Isolation is being alone in a crowd because nobody knows who you actually are. You've been isolated long enough. It's time to risk solitude for the possibility of genuine connection. To trade 1,000 shallow relationships for a few deep ones. To be loved for who you are instead of liked for who you're pretending to be. I want you to do something uncomfortable right now. Think of one person in your life who needs to hear a truth you've been withholding. Maybe it's your friend who keeps choosing the same toxic pattern. Maybe it's your family member who's self-destructing. Maybe it's yourself, and the truth you need to hear is that you deserve better than what you're accepting. Feel that resistance? That tightness in your chest? That voice saying, but I can't say that, or it's not the right time, or they'll never forgive me? But understand, if you choose niceness, you don't get to be surprised when nothing changes. You don't get to complain about the state of your relationships when you're actively maintaining their dysfunction. Your silence is a choice. Your niceness is a strategy. And it's failing everyone involved. The people you love don't need another cheerleader. They don't need another enabler. They don't need someone else who will smile and nod while they destroy themselves. They need someone brave enough to tell them the truth. But understand, if you choose niceness, you don't get to be surprised when nothing changes. You don't get to complain about the state of your relationships when you're actively maintaining their dysfunction. Your silence is a choice. Your niceness is a strategy. And it's failing everyone involved. The people you love don't need another cheerleader. They don't need another enabler. They don't need someone else who will smile and nod while they destroy themselves. They need someone brave enough to tell them the truth. The revolution starts small. One honest sentence, one boundary held, one uncomfortable truth spoken with love. It starts with you looking at someone you care about and saying, "I see what you're doing, and I love you too much to pretend I don't." It starts with you looking at yourself in the mirror and admitting you've been trading authenticity for approval, and the exchange rate is bankrupting your soul. This isn't about becoming cruel. It's not about being harsh or unkind or brutally honest for the sake of feeling superior. This is about understanding that truth is the highest form of respect, that honesty is the foundation of real intimacy, that you cannot truly love someone while lying to them, even if those lies are comfortable. The world will tell you this is wrong. Society rewards niceness. It promotes conflict avoidance. It celebrates people who go along to get along. But look at where that's gotten us. Look at the epidemic of shallow relationships and profound loneliness. You can be different. You can choose differently. You can be the person who values depth over breadth, quality over quantity, truth over temporary peace. It will be hard. It will be lonely sometimes. There will be moments when you question whether it's worth it. But then you'll have a conversation, one real, genuine, honest conversation, and you'll remember. You'll remember what it feels like to be truly seen, to be known, to connect with another human being without performance or pretense. And you'll realize that one moment of genuine connection is worth 1,000 comfortable lies. So here's my question for you, the one you've been avoiding this entire time. Who are you lying to right now? And more importantly, why are you calling it love? Think about it. Sit with that discomfort. And when you're ready to stop being nice and start being kind, you'll know what to do. The question is, will you have the courage to do it?